ברוכים הבאים לנובחים בירוק, פרק 317. הפרק הזה בחסות מיעת אולימפיאקוס. אנחנו מארחים עיתונאי ואוהד של אולימפיאקוס ומיד נציג אותו. אנחנו נזכיר שאתם מוזמנים להירשם ברשתות החברתיות לנובחים בירוק, בספוטיפיי, אפל פודקאסט, גוגל פודקאסט או כל אפליקציה אחרת שאתם מאזינים בה להסקטים. תעשו סאבסקרייב ותהיו ראשונים לקבל את כל הפרקים שלנו. איתנו הערב עופר פרוסנר. עופר, מה שלומך?
נהדר. יש כדורגל בשבת.
יש כדורגל ויש אורח מיוחד, מתן גילור, השותף הקבוע, מה שלומך?
מצוין, זה בעצם הפרק השני שלנו בקריירה ברקינג אין גרין, לא? שיהיה באנגלית למעשה.
כן, לגמרי ככה. And we have tonight קוסטס ליאנוס from Gate 7 and a journalist for the Sun. How are you, Kostas?
I'm great. My Hebrew is not great, but I really like the language. Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm very much looking forward to learning new things, to sharing about Olympaiakos and learning new things about Maccabi Haifa.
Thank you very much for joining us. And a few words in Hebrew. אנחנו משתתפים בצערה של משפחתו של סרגי אולכסנדרוביץ' בלנצ'וק, שחקן הקבוצה, שחקן ההגנה ששיחק אצלנו בין 96 ל-99, 3 עונות, כמעט 100 הופעות בכל המסגרות, שנפל על חרבו בעצם בקרב בין אוקראינה לרוסיה, כן, על אדמת אוקראינה כמובן, השבוע, מזעזע את כולנו כאוהדים, לא אוקראיני ראשון משורותינו שמוצא את מותו בגיל צעיר מדי אחרי ויקטור צ'אנוב ואנדרי בל, אז מכאן מהעסקת הצנוע שלנו נשלח תנחומים למשפחתו ולכל מוקירי זכרו. אני עמית פרלה, מעביר את השרביט לעופר פרוסנר שינחה הערב את הפודקאסט הזה, ואנחנו נשמח להצטרף גם בשאלות ובהתייחסויות.
Yeah, of course, I was on mute. So hi Kostas, and thank you very much for this introduction, Amit. Kostas, I want to thank you very much for joining us, and if you can, just want to tell you that to translate what Amit just said, we had a player of ours a few years back called Sergei Balanchuk. He just died in the war in Ukraine, defending his country. So we just had some words. So I would like to ask, before you can introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you and the pod, Gate 7, and your work for the Sun, if you can tell us if there was a player from Ukraine in Olympaiakos and how is things over there, you know, just because we're already talking about it, and then we'll start the conversation.
Well, I mean, my sincerest condolences to his family and friends. Sergei Melanchuk, I've heard of him. I didn't know about that. I'm just hearing about this. This is very sad news. Olympaiakos do not have a player that is a player that's caught in this horrifying war. Stuck in this horrifying war. They do have club legend Oleg Protasov, who last time I checked, he is in Ukraine helping his country against Russia. And Olympaiakos put together a friendly with Shakhtar Donetsk not too long ago. It was in May, if I remember correctly, or April. It was a charity match with the profits going to the people of Ukraine and all those affected by this horrible war. I got to speak to Dario Serna. I got to speak to Mudrik as well. They were all devastated and they're all stressed. They're all worried, but they continue to be brave. They maintain their bravery. They maintain their courage. Those people are lions. No matter how hard things get, they never stop fighting. And I wish them all the best.
Thank you for the kind words, Kostas. It's amazing to hear, you know, different how football brings everyone together, even in times of war. And it's really, we just hope, you know, from everyone here that everything will be done there soon and we'll come back and, you know, be quiet again. So let's talk about some more heavy things. Tell us a little bit about, you know, about the pod, about your work for the Sun, about yourself. How did you become an Olympaiakos fan? Is it something that you have to, like in Israel, that my father was a Maccabi fan, so I didn't have any choice, or is it like, you know, you either Olympaiakos or Panathinaikos? How does it work in Greece? Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, one thing you should know about me is that I come from a non-football fan family. My family is consisted of absolutely no football fans whatsoever. The kind of men my female relatives marry are not football fans. So it gets quite lonely. So I had to decide, but I happened to love football growing up. When I was 9 years old, I decided I need to support someone, and I was between Olympákos and Panathinaikos because I'm from Athens. And then I put on an Olympákos game, and there was this player called Giovanni who just started doing magical things with the ball, things that some people could even describe as unnatural. And that was it from then on. I had no idea how many titles Olympákos had won. I had no idea that Olympákos made it to the Champions League quarterfinals just before that. All I knew is I love that player. This player is incredible. And I became an Olympákos fan from there. Actually, Giovanni played against Maccabi Haifa the last time we played in 2002, 2003. As for Gate 7 International, I have to say that I'm more of the help over there. I'm more of a contributor. The Gate 7 International podcast was put together by Ari Bouloubasis, Peter Thompson, Labro Sirmo, and Costa Levogianni. Those are the real protagonists, the real MVPs, the real creators, the real founders. And I got to say, they are the best journalists I've ever met who are not journalists. They love Olympákos. They love the game. And they are so good at analysis, at analyzing and reporting all things Olympákos. Anyone who's an Olympákos fan, anyone who wants to know about Greek football, subscribe, show them support. I have never met people as analytical and as dedicated to not only Olympákos, but objective journalism as well, even though they're not journalists themselves.
We'll be sure to follow. I think some of the Maccabi fans, and we're going to start looking and hearing and trying to figure out what's to expect in the upcoming games. But you mentioned that you didn't know anything about Olympákos. So we prepared some stuff. If you still don't know, so for our fans over here in don't know, Olympákos is by far the most successful and decorated club in the Greek Super League. The only team in Greece to win 7 straight championships twice, not only once, twice. The only team in the world that actually has 5 consecutive championships, and 5 times of a championship without any loss, like Maccabi Haifa's famous 93-94 campaign. Still considered the best team ever in the world of football. I don't know if we can discuss, but I'm right. So let's see how it is. And of course, one of the 3 teams who has never been relegated from the Greek Super League. Alongside, I imagine, Panathinaikos and AEK Athens. I imagine.
AEK were relegated.
Right, because they were. So who is the 3rd team? Alice? No, Alice was also PAOK.
PAOK could be PAOK. Actually, I haven't looked that up. Actually, you're cutting me off guard. You caught me off guard. But Olympákos were never relegated. I assume Panathinaikos definitely never got relegated. PAOK should be the 3rd team.
Yeah. So you've been controlling basically the league for the last 20 years, more or less, 10 years maybe. With PAOK, making some. We had an Israeli player playing PAOK, two Israeli players actually, both Bivras Natko and Eyal Golasa, and we want to know a little bit about
Olympákos as well. Bivras.
Oh yeah, right, that's correct. And he actually, that's correct. I forgot. I'm sorry. So what? Let's start with expectations from what does the people, the fans of Olympákos, the players, what is it around the club? How do they feel about the draw against Maccabi Haifa? Is it a good draw? Is it a bad draw? What is the expectations? I imagine that as a regular Champions League team, most of the time, you have a lot of Champions League appearances. Anything other than a loss than a win will be considered a failure, right?
Well, I'm going to say something that is not being said a lot in Greece, and that is that Olympákos are not the favorites draw. I think this was a really bad draw for Olympákos, one of the worst draws, if not the worst draw for Olympákos. And quite simply, it's because Olympákos have a terrible tradition against Israeli. Olympákos have played with Israeli teams a total of 6 times, won only once, drew twice, lost 3 times. Every time Olympákos play against an Israeli team, have played against an Israeli team in Europe, they qualified a total of 0 times. Played against Maccabi Tel Aviv in the Europa League qualifiers in 2010. They were eliminated. Played against Maccabi Haifa in the Champions League in 2002-2003 season. They finished below them in 4th. Maccabi went to the UEFA Cup. They played against Hapoel Beersheva in the Champions League qualifiers in 2016. 16. Thank you so much. They were eliminated. It's never good news when Olympákos get an Israeli team. If they actually eliminate Maccabi Haifa, this is going to be the first time ever they eliminate an Israeli team. And I'm also going to tell you that if Olympákos do not knock Maccabi Haifa out, Pedro Martins, the manager's job is going to be in grave peril. He could even lose it. I'm telling you, it's going to get really tough for him because it was a difficult season that we just underwent. Olympíakos, yes, they won the league with 19 points ahead of PAOK. But as you said, Olympíakos are basically what Bayern Munich are in the Bundesliga. Olympíakos are in the Greek league. They're a league of their own. They're not as good as Bayern Munich, obviously, not even close, not even half as good, but they are a league of their own. The fact that they won it with such ease last season just says a lot about the Greek league because Olympíakos were quite poor. A pretty dull game. At times, they didn't even convince that they could beat lower opposition. Not a lot going on with the way that they attacked. There were some issues in defense. It's just impossible to understand what kind of formation Pedro Martins wants to play. We went with 4-3-3, 4-2-3-1, 3-4-3. We just haven't decided on one kind of formation. And there was a lot of nagging. There was a lot of disappointment. So I can imagine things getting really tough for Pedro Martins if the Olympíakos do not eliminate Maccabi Haifa.
So it's very interesting. Oh, sorry, Perla, you want to ask a question?
Do you have an explanation why Olympíakos, a much richer club than the Israeli clubs, have such poor results against Israeli clubs?
I'll be honest with you. That's something I'm still looking into. Maybe, I mean, here comes probably a really bad excuse because it is a really bad excuse. Maybe it's the weather in Israel. I don't know because we play in the summer as well. But at the end of the day, I think maybe it's because usually we play during preseason time, so Olympíakos are not usually ready. This time, Olympíakos have made some really good signings, really strong signings, statement signings in Shime Vrsaliko, Abubakar Kamara, Philip Zinkernagel, and Gonzalo Avila Gordon. I can't imagine another big signing coming before the Maccabi Haifa games, or at least make sure that player is ready for Maccabi. One thing I'm going to say is that Olympíakos had a serious problem with fullbacks last, especially when they play 3-4-3. If you play a 3-4-3 formation without really good fullbacks, it's just not going to work out. But now Olympíakos have brought in Leonardo Kutris from his loan stint at Fortuna Düsseldorf and Oleg Reabchuk, who constantly played for Olympíakos, and he was quite tired. He's finally has some really good competition. And finally, Olympíakos have two really good right backs in Shime Vrsaliko and Gonzalo Avila Gordon. So it's going to be quite different now, I expect. I expect the fullbacks to be very, very active against Maccabi. I expect a lot of attacks to be based on what the wingbacks do. Hopefully, it's going to be a different Olympíakos because of some quality wingbacks finally. But to answer your question, maybe it's just the fact that maybe most of it goes down to the fact that we played in preseason. And I think you guys are more active because, correct me if I'm wrong, you didn't play any friendlies. You got Vitesse tomorrow and you got Hapoel Beersheva in the Super Cup coming up, right? So how active have you been? Have I missed your friend? Have you had any friendlies that I missed?
We had a friendly versus Mechelen on Saturday, and the day after, we had a game against Westerlo, I think. And before that, we had some games in Israel, I think against Netanya. Before that, we had against
Reine and Afula. And also Ashdod, I think.
Yeah, okay. I think so too. Okay. So Afula is like kind of a B team for Maccabi in a sense. One can say we don't have really B teams in Israel, but it's sort of a B team. And Rena is a new promoted team, first time ever in the league. If you had to guess from what you know, what players, you mentioned a lot of names, new names and old names. What are the players that the Maccabi fans should look out for? The fullback I heard is one very tall one. I think it's the new one, right? The one that just arrived. A very tall fullback, like 1.94 m, someone that arrived. Or maybe I'm mistaken.
Maybe Gonzalo Avila Gordon.
Yeah, maybe. I'm not sure, but tell me who should the Maccabi fans look for in the game? And also, I think we really want to know what is the main strength of Olympíakos? Is it set pieces, perhaps the counterattack? How is the style of play?
Well, actually, today is Monday, July 11 at 9:30 p.m. Israel time and Greece time, actually. And Olympíakos are playing against Aris in Salonika in a friendly, which is it's 0-0 right now as we speak. And it's important to mention that Pedro Martins, the manager, has excluded all the players who started against Alkmaar in our last friendly that we won. And those players that are excluded are Vatslik, Vrsaliko, Σισέ, Μαντί Καμαρά, Αγγιπού Καμαρά, Φίλιπ Ζίνκερνάγκελ, Σοκράτης Παπασταθόπουλος, Γιώργος Μασούρας, Κανέ, Reabchuk, and El Arabi. That basically means that those players are definitely going to play against Maccabi if he's leaving them out. Obviously, there's going to be players from the Aris game. I suppose Pedro Martins is going to look and see who's ready for this match. So it's going to be a nice little mix and match. Sorry, but those players that are excluded are highly likely or certain to play against Maccabi Haifa. Olympiacos have so much quality in the league, but it's just that it hasn't really gelled as of late. Like we mentioned, Vatslik, an incredible goalkeeper who had an incredible Euro 2020 with the Czech Republic. Versaliko, incredible signing, statement signing. Manolas is there. Papastathopoulos, Papea Bouchise, who, as far as I know, is very likely to join the Premier League by the end of the summer. Madi Kamara and Agibu Kamara, the same for them in midfield. Yanem Villa, very experienced midfielder. Youssef El Arabi, a killer in attack, not as consistent as he was 2 years ago, but still our top scorer. So those are players to look out for. But in general, may I take you through our friendlies so far to give you a better idea of what's going on? I don't want to waffle, but should I take you through our friendlies?
Feel free, yeah, for sure. Why not? Yeah, I want to know everything about Olympaiacos.
If I waffle, please just jump in. So Olympaiacos have played 7 friendlies, and they've lost the majority of 3 against the Ried, Arminia Bielefeld, and Red Bull Salzburg. They won 2 against Fortuna Düsseldorf and Alkmaar, and drew 2 against Cracovia and Slavia Prague. They scored a total of 6 goals and conceded 10. Reminding you that they're playing against Aris right now, 0-0. Based on preseason, we will approach the game in a 4-3-3 formation. There's a lot of concern about Olympiacos' open play. It's been very poor because they've only scored 1 goal in preseason from open play out of the total 6 goals. Although the open play possession has been subpar, the defensive positioning has been solid because Olympiacos have won the majority of their duels in all of their friendlies. Almost 60% of ground duels, 55% of aerial duels. It's a very conservative approach, which perhaps contributes to the lack of bodies going forward in open play. Olympiacos are not allowing a lot of shots against them, but still there are a lot of unknowns heading to this Maccabi game. The winger play has been very inconsistent in friendlies. As I said, wingbacks will be heavily involved in if friendlies are any indication. And service to forwards has been inconsistent. Difficult to say if there will be the difference makers going in this game. As I said, the wingers have been very inconsistent, and Olympiacos have 2 attackers who need the ball. They need to get the ball, like Youssef El Arabi and Tiquinho. So they did show signs of improvements against Alkmaar, vast improvement against Alkmaar. Now they're playing against Aris without their starters, reminding you. So there are quite of unknowns heading to this Maccabi game, and that is why I just told you Olympiacos are not favorites going against Maccabi. I don't know if Maccabi are the favorites. If they are, not by much, I suppose. You're going to tell me that. But they're definitely not favorites.
Matan?
Nobody's in Maccabi think we are favorite. Everybody know Olympiacos are the favorite. Yes, much more qualities, much richer team, more experienced team.
I think that the only thing can lead win of us is if you will have as Olympaiacos too much self-confidence. I think that also at 2002 we gained from the fact that Olympiacos beat 6-2 against Leverkusen at home a week before the game. And remind you that Leverkusen was the finalist of the Champions League a year before. It was a very strong team, and after Olympiacos came with 6-2 for them, we came from Old Trafford after we lost 2-5. Olympiacos was very, very confident, and also the fans at the stadium was most of them from Greece, and they felt like at home. And Maccabi was a big surprise for them. And I think that's the fact that led us to the win then. And if that will be the mindset at the games here, maybe that is our chance.
That's very interesting. And obviously, when you underestimate it is highly likely you're going to be shocked. And Olympiacos have proved that themselves in Europe recently. The best example is Arsenal. But in general, Olympiacos have been quite inconsistent in the past few months. The main source of that inconsistency, in my opinion, was the Copa Africa from last season, because you had really good players like Agibu Kamara, Pierre Kunde coming back, Gary Rodriguez, who was injured as well. Gary Rodriguez, by the way, is not certain to play against Maccabi. We're still waiting to see if he's going to play. He picked up another injury. But there were a lot of complaints about lack of entertainment, and they just struggled against lesser opposition, especially at the end. There was fatigue involved there as well. But as I said, it doesn't really remind us of the Olympákos from 2020 when they nearly missed out on the Europa League quarterfinals. To take you back to 2002, actually, I have to tell you guys, the Olympákos Maccabi are about to face is nothing like the Olympákos of 2002, 2003, because now Olympákos have a European identity, a real European identity. To put things into perspective, out of Olympákos' last 13 attempts in Europe, they made it past the group stages 12 times. That is in Europa League and Champions League, mainly in the Europa League. A team with great, immense European identity. Back then, Olympákos were mostly concerned about winning the league and besting Panathinaikos and AEK Athens, being the top dogs in Greece. And it showed a lot against teams like Herenfen, against Molde, against Maccabi, Haifa. And you're absolutely right. We played in Nicosia at the time, and please do correct me, because I seem to remember that there were troubles in Israel, and that's why we played in Nicosia instead of Haifa. And you're absolutely right. There's a lot of Greeks, and mainly Greek Cypriots, turned the Nicosia stadium into the Karaiskaki stadium, basically. We were very arrogant. We completely underestimated you. You had some really good players like Awat in goal, Pralia, Rosso, and of course, Yakubu Ayegbeni, who went on to have a great career in England, playing for Portsmouth, Leicester, and of course Everton, which he was most successful. And he also played for Middlesbrough, and he came back for Reading for a few months, if I remember correctly. Incredible striker, Yakubu Ayegbeni, who scored a hat-trick. You scored a total of 6 goals in 2 matches and conceded 3 in the Rizupoli. Completely different team right now, of course. There's a lot of European identity. I cannot expect them to underestimate Maccabi, and if they do, then doom on them. But like I said, a lot of inconsistency and troubles with open play. Maybe you should be careful with set pieces. That's where you should be mostly concerned with.
Interesting. And how is the keeper for Olympákos? You haven't mentioned the keeper. Who is playing there? Is he good, not good?
Oh, he's great. He's really good. He's actually too good for the Greek league. He had an amazing Euro 2020 with the Czech Republic. In my opinion, the best keeper in the Greek league. Olympákos have been really good with getting good goalkeepers in recent years. They had Roberto, then they got Jose Sa, who now plays for Wolves as a starter. And now it's Thomas Vatslik. So, yeah, really good goalkeeper.
So you mentioned also, it was very interesting that there was some complaints from the crowd about the level of play, the entertainment. So let's talk about the fans. You know, a lot of the draw for Israeli fans and fans from all over Europe about the Greek football is the really passionate fan support. What can you tell we're not only getting ready for the home leg, we're also getting ready for the away match. What can you tell those Maccabi fans who are going to go to Karaiskakis? That's the way to pronounce it?
Yes, absolutely.
Great. I practice it. I hope. What is to expect? I mean, are the fans excited about the game? Will they fill the stadium? Because it seems that Maccabi actually published the prices for the game today. I think all of us already bought tickets. We are all season ticket holders. 99% renewal rate for Maccabi Haifa. 20,000 season tickets for a 30,000 seater stadium, more or less. And it's supposed to be full. The prices are better than what they were last year. And it's a very good atmosphere, let me tell you. I think out of all the teams in Israel, Maccabi, I'm not objective, but I think we are considered to be the best crowd, both in terms of atmosphere and in terms of numbers. That's the statistics. So what should the Maccabi fans who are going to Athens expect, to Piraeus, expect from the home crowd?
Well, expect a very fiery crowd, expect a very loud stadium, expect a lot of atmosphere, especially from the Gate 7 section. Obviously, you're not going to see anything crazy like flares or whatever, because Olympákos are very aware of the punishments and the UEFA's zero tolerance when it comes to fan violence. It's going to be very intense. I'm pretty sure that's not something completely alien for Israeli football. It can get like that, if I'm not mistaken. And I'm actually bringing over to you. What can Olympákos fans can expect from Maccabi Haifa fans in the first game?
So your Gate 7 is our northern bank, basically north stand. The entire north stand is a double-decker. So we have the upper deck and the lower deck, and they usually full about an hour before or 30 minutes before the game, and it's full completely. But one of the nicest things, I think, they do a lot of choreo, and I don't think that Maccabi fans really care about punishments from UEFA, or we don't really care about zero tolerance things. I think you can expect some pyro. Not sure. I'm not that kind of person, but I think it's going to be great. One of the things I like the most about being a Maccabi fan is that the fact that the entire stadium, at least all the Maccabi fans, are usually singing all the songs. And the North Bank starts, and everybody knows the words, and everybody's singing, and everybody's on the feet in the big games. I remember that last season I was with my dad. It was his first game after COVID, and we played against Slavia Prague, and we beat them at home 1-0. And the atmosphere was in the last minutes. We were 1-0 from the 27th minute, I think, very early. And the last 10 minutes was very tense, and everybody was on their feet, and it was great atmosphere. European games in Haifa. What you need to know is that for years, Maccabi, after it moved to the new stadium, they weren't very successful. The season before last, championship, was the first one after 10 years. And it was during COVID, and most of the season was empty stadiums. So last season was kind of a makeup for it. It was mostly full. We had, I think, 50% of the games were sold out completely. Away fans for Maccabi, as many tickets as other teams give us, we usually buy them. I think our best away crowd was a few years back at Petah Tikva. We filled out the entire stadium. There was the home team without any fans. We were 10,000 there. Israel is very small compared to Greece and compared to other countries, so away games are usually very much a thing here. We even have fans that have, for Matan, for example, he has a away season ticket. We have something like that. So people are very much, like to go to away games as well. So the crowd is going to, I would say, electric and very ecstatic because we like the European games. And the weather is going to be hot, obviously, because it's July in Haifa. The stadium, by the way, is not that far from the beach. So you can expect a lot of humidity, especially because everything is undercover. So usually that's what we feel in the stands. Do you know how many Olympákos fans are supposed to arrive to Israel? Any news about that?
I do not know that, but it sounds like both teams are going to be just fine with a difficult away section, it seems, because Olympákos have been through very hostile environments, especially in Salonika. So it sounds like both teams are going to be just fine with it then.
I have questions, if you know. Maccabi asked from Olympákos to increase the away tickets from 5% to 10%, and the Olympákos refused. Do you know why?
I do not know any of it, to be honest with you. Unfortunately, I do not know. I didn't even know about any ticketing issue.
Because if Maccabi could bring 5,000 to Greek, we will bring 5,000 easily, I think.
I do not know, actually. I was very surprised. I found out quite recently that it's not a long flight from Greece to Israel and the other way around. So I would imagine. I would imagine a lot of Maccabi Haifa fans making the flight over to Athens. Plus, it's a great holiday destination. So is Israel. So we could imagine both ways. Quite a big crowd for those two games.
Last year, thousands of us went abroad to Prague and to Berlin to the matches in the Conference League. Do you at Olympákos look at guests from other countries in a hostile way, or you appreciate the fact that they are passionate fans and you welcome them?
I think, it goes both ways. I personally think that a vast majority of Olympákos fans are, they appreciate passion, they appreciate respect. You don't have to support the same team to share respect. And obviously, there's bad apples like there's everywhere. Every single club in the world has bad apples. All of them, every single club in the world has a section that's too fanatical. As far as I know, Olympákos, the vast majority are they are respectful. Obviously, you can expect the banter in Greece from the home crowd. There's going to be a healthy dose of banter. And I'm sure there's going to be a healthy dose of banter from the Israeli side once the Greeks come and visit Haifa in the stadium.
You know that at 2002, a bit before the game and shortly after, there were some violence attacks between fans of Olympaiacos against fans of Maccabi Haifa. At the airport, even the bus I was on got a stone, and the flight was postponed for some hours because of many problems, and people were just running inside the airport with a fear in their eyes. Well, you know about it? You remember that?
I do not remember it, but I do want to say I'm sorry that you went through all this. What I do know is that UEFA, as like we said, now have a zero tolerance when it comes to fan violence and stadium violence. So a lot more than they did 10 years ago when those unacceptable events took place. So I would imagine it's not going to be like that like this year, and I expect it not to be like that. Basically, Olympaiacos have played a lot of European games. There've been a lot of away fans coming to the Karaiskaki from all sorts of different countries. I would imagine it would be. I expect there's not going to be any issues. Like, for example, last season we were playing against Fenerbahce in the Europa League, so there were fans from Turkey coming to Greece to watch that game. I don't remember of any fan hearing about any fan violence. There was fan violence when Olympaiacos visited Frankfurt to play against Eintracht, and wasn't just Olympaiacos fans who experienced violence from the ultras from Eintracht. There was violence in the Europa League final from Eintracht ultras. So it really depends, really. But personally, I expect reasonable. I expect things to be at least reasonable in those two games.
So I have a question about that. And I went once. I was in a basketball EuroLeague game, Red Star versus Panathinaikos, and they told me, the Red Star people, that they have a friendship with Olympaiacos because of the colors and all that. And I was wondering, Maccabi Haifa's colors are green, as you probably know. Do you imagine, because we experienced it, I remember it in Old Trafford. We played our first Champions League game at Old Trafford, and some City fans came. I remember being there. City fans came in the street where we were, congregated and drinking, and they came and sang with us. It was a great atmosphere. It was really nice. Do you imagine that Maccabi Haifa fans coming in with all the green scarves and shirts, having a day out of it? Do you imagine Panathinaikos fans joining in with us and making something together? Because I noticed this kind of thing happens sometimes in European cities. How is I know there is a great rivalry, but is it something common that like PAO and Olympaiacos fans, great banter? And how is it like? Because our local rivals are also red. So we kind of, we also look at the Olympaiacos Panathinaikos derby as kind of a role model for us. Anyway, our red team is very bad, not like your guys. So do you expect anything to happen in that sense? Us wearing green, maybe with Panathinaikos fans coming in and stuff like that?
In Greece, there's only two things you can be football-wise. You can either be an Olympaiacos fan or you can be an anti-Olympaiacos fan. So what's going to happen is all the non-Olympaiacos fans, the rest of the country that don't support Olympaiacos are going to be with you. 100%.
That's good to know. It's a lot of people in Greece. We need the fans, If we need everybody together with us.
As far as I know, the majority of Greece's are Olympaiacos fans, especially in the last few years when all the other teams have really have worsened, have taken a turn for the worse. But I don't have facts with me in that department. But yeah, like I said, everyone who's not an Olympaiacos fan is with you 100%.
So maybe you can tell us a little bit about Greek football. It used to be, I remember from my childhood, Panathinaikos reaching the semifinals of the European Cup. That game, the Kazishto Vashicha, the goal against I think it was Ajax.
Yes, in Amsterdam.
Yeah, a very famous goal. I remember watching it in amazement.
Meanwhile, let me ask you, not disrespect, but I understand why, let's say, groups like Real Madrid or Barcelona or Bayern München need podcast in English. Why Olympaiacos need podcast in English?
Well, we have a saying in Greece that if you walk outside and you pick a rock from the street, there's a good chance you're going to find a Greek underneath it. We're everywhere. Greeks are everywhere. There's so many Greeks who have migrated to all sorts of different countries, especially Germany, Australia, the US, England, where I'm based. you find Greeks everywhere. It's impossible not to find a Greek. There's a lot of Greeks. There's a lot of Greeks of diaspora. And because there are so many Greeks that live abroad who are second-generation Greeks, third-generation Greeks, maybe even fourth-generation Greeks, a lot of Greeks left during the 60s, the 50s, and after World War II in the mid-40s. So we wanted to create a nice little environment, a nice place for all those underrepresented Olympákos fans who maybe don't speak the language very well to join us, because it is 100% in English. Sometimes we do have interviews in Greek, and we're just giving them what they didn't have growing up. A group of people that, although they did not grow up in Greece and they were not 100% with the Greek environment of Olympákos, giving them a place to join and talk about their favorite team and get exclusive news, get transfer news, get exciting interviews, funny, entertaining podcasts, in-depth analysis. And we're getting a lot of return from that recently, and we're very honored. And we're always open to meeting new people like you guys. We're doing an excellent job with Maccabi Haifa, and just linking up and taking the podcast to the next level.
Thanks. What is the weather now in Athens?
Well, we had a bit of rain because thanks to climate change, we had a bit of rain in the last 2 days, but we're slowly getting back to the heat wave. So I would imagine it's going to be quite hot when you guys visit.
Like how much degrees Celsius?
Let me have
approximately
above 30, obviously. When is the second game? Do you remember the exact date of the second? We're playing in 9
27. 27.
Okay. Well, it's going to be in the 30s. I'm seeing 32, 33, but it could get to 35. It does reach 40. In July we do get it in there. We do reach the 40s. So yeah, expect the worst, I would say, personally. So 40 degrees, expect that.
Okay, like Israel.
Yeah. Basically.
So before I was interrupted, I wanted to ask, you mentioned that everybody is either Olympákos or against Olympákos, and you being like Bayern München. And so what happened to Greek football? I remember I used to see Panathinaikos was very good. We played, after we lost that season, we finished third in the Champions League. We played AEK Athens, and we lost, I think, 4-0 and 4-1, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Greek teams were very, very good. So what happened to Greek football? And it used to be very good, and now you're saying it's not that way. So can you maybe tell us a little bit about it?
I don't know how much time you got. Just kidding. I'll give you the short story. So basically, when it comes to Olympákos, there was always someone running this club who loved the team, was organized, and took care of Olympákos as his baby. Socrates Kokalis did that, and when he decided to sell, Vangelis Marinakis took over, who adores Olympákos. He grew up as a fan. His father was part of Olympákos, was part of the hierarchy at Olympákos. Father Miltiadis was part of it. So he's not just an owner. He doesn't just see Olympákos as, a business. He sees it as his baby. He's a fan. He wants to see Olympákos doing well. We do talk with a healthy dose of humor about winning the Europa League in the near future. That's how much he loves it. The bar is really, really high. And even now that he's also the owner of Nottingham Forest, and he got them in the Premier League, and he wants to succeed there as well, and he's showing it with the transfers he does, with the money he's putting in, and the fact that he finally brought them to the Premier League after a 13-year exile. He still shows intent at Olympákos. Like I said, those signings of Versaliko, Zinkernagel, Aboubakar Kamara, players with experience at top level. Kamara played for Fulham in the Premier League and the Championship. Philip Zinkernagel played for Watford and for Nottingham Forest and played a huge part in bringing Watford back to the Premier League and Forest back to the Premier League as well. Avila Gordon, who played for Huddersfield in the Championship. Players with vast experience, especially with the addition at fullback. He's an owner who loves the team and also has a lot of business now. He's a very good businessman and a huge Olympákos fan. Now to the opposition. When it comes to Panathinaikos, there was a lot of discontent with the Vardinogiannis family, and that led them to create a group of different shareholders taking over. And that group of shareholders mismanaged the club, and that led to insane debt, and that led to financial troubles, and that led to Panathinaikos being just a shadow of its old self. Like you mentioned, them going to reaching the quarterfinals of the Champions League in 2002, reaching the quarterfinals of the Europa League in 2003. the semifinals in 1994 or 1995. Excuse me if I got this wrong. 95. Reaching the final in the 70s against Ajax at Wembley Stadium. They're merely a shadow of their old self because of financial problems. Ajax were relegated in 2013. But came back because of Melissanidis taking over and brought them in and put them and gave them financial health again. But there's no mission. There's no vision. Like they won the league in 2018, and ever since there's no vision anymore. Basically, what they wanted to do the dream was to come back from the third division and win the cup, win the title, go to the Champions League. That was the vision, and they did it. They won the cup, they won the title. They went to the Champions League, and then that was it. They had a moniker, they had a creed that was called Ερχόμαστε. We're coming back. And when they won the league, when they made it to the Champions League the next season, that was the end of Ερχόμαστε. It was the end of we're coming, because that was it. They did it. There was no vision after that. They didn't build on that. The same goes for PAOK. It's a team that they're basically like Olympiakos from the early 2000s. You mentioned the Maccabi horror we experienced back then. That's how they are. They just want to be the top dogs in Greece, really. They mostly prioritize that. There's not much of a European mentality. Although they made it to the quarterfinals of the conference, that seems to be the exception to the rule, because 10 years ago, they eliminated Tottenham at White Hart Lane, but that is extremely rare. They're a team that think very Greek. They have an owner that also wants to turn them into the top dogs in Greece, but the mentality is not big enough. There's not a lot of European mentality. They've never played in the Champions League. They usually get eliminated by teams subpar, like Estersund, like
Maccabi Tel Aviv after they had a player that wasn't supposed to play, if I'm not mistaken, right?
There is
back
that.
Then.
There's also some Azerbaijani team I just cannot remember. There's also a Slovak team called Slovan Bratislava. Like, they have been eliminated in the qualifiers by some really poor team, but I don't feel like PAOK see themselves more. They don't really see themselves much as the team that they want to go far in Europe. They mostly want to become the top dogs in Greece, and there's a huge anti-Olympiakos sentiment. Hopefully that's going to change soon. Because I love watching Greek in Europe.
So we are going to finish very soon. I want to ask you two things. First, if you have any questions for us.
Yes.
So hit it, come on.
Yeah, all of you. Talk to me about Maccabi Haifa. So how do you guys play? Who's your best players? I only know Sundgren. He played for Aris. It's good that you have him because he's going to tell you a lot. He played for Aris recently, so he knows a lot about Olympiakos. Who's your best players? How do you play? Tell me about the manager. I remember Hijak Shum was a very good manager. He took over Panathinaikos the next season and won the double. One of the most underrated managers Panathinaikos had. They fired him like he was nothing the season after. I thought he was a very good manager, very talented. And one of the reasons why they brought him was because he absolutely embarrassed Olympiakos in the Champions League. Incredible manager. So yeah, tell me everything, basically. That's the question.
Our manager is Balak Bakar, and he's the current best Israeli coach. You want to do it, Matan?
No, you do it. I just say in Israel it's not exactly manager, it's a head coach. We have our like manager, it's Gal Alberman. It's a separate positions in the club.
Yeah, that's actually correct. So Bakar won 5 out of the last 7 championships in Israel. 3 with Hapoel Be'er Sheva that you mentioned before, and 2 with us. And I think our best players, my favorite is Charon Sheri. He's Dutch, amazing. Check out his moves in the Maccabi Haifa YouTube. Is really something else. Something like Giovanni that you mentioned. You know, this the kind of a player that you buy ticket to watch. We usually play a 4-3-3 formation, right, Matan?
Yes, we usually play 4-3-3. The big question is, does Sheri play in the middle, or he plays for attack? So if you play in the middle, it's only 2 midfielders with defensive orientation. And if you play for the attack, so we have 3 midfielders with the defensive orientation, and it changes all the way the team plays, although it's the same 4-3-3 on the paper, what you call.
We have on the right side, we have Sundgren that you mentioned, and on the left side, we have a new left back called Pierre Cournot. He came from Oviedo in Spain. Our center backs are Bogdan Planic, a very good player, and if everything goes according to plan, is Sean Goldberg. We're still not sure about who the keeper is. We have a keeper that is from the US, but he's Jewish, so he's not considered a foreign player. name of Josh Cohen. I think he's a little bit injured, so we don't know if he's going to play.
Will play. Mashpati is injured, so obviously Josh will play.
Josh will play. In center, in midfield, there is quite a lot of choice to pick from. We have maybe the best player last season, Muhammad Abu Fani. Is a good number 6, number 8. What do you want to say?
8. No, it's 8.
Number 8. We have Ali Muhammad. So we have Muhammad and Muhammad. He's number 6 below. And then we probably Sherry will play. That's my assumption, but I'm not sure.
I just say according to the friendship games, maybe Neta Lavi, the captain, will start for the 6 and not Ali Muhammad, because it's more aggressive. Ali Muhammad is handle the ball better, but Lavi is more aggressive. I don't know. Maybe Ali Muhammad will start, but according to the friendship game, it seems like Neta Lavi will start for 6.
And we are very much we're big on attack. So we had Nikita Rukavica coming back, but I'm suppose he's not going to open. We have a new center forward called really it's very hard for me to pronounce. It's Pranzi Pierrot. He's from Haitian, if I'm not mistaken. He came from the 2nd French division. Supposed to be very good. Nobody sees him yet, but we're hoping that he's going to be very good. And we have the top player in Israeli football last season, Omer Atzili, 20 goals and 10 assists. That he will open on the right. And then on the left, that's a big question. We had Din David, who was the center forward last year, scored 15 goals. He might do a move to the left wing. Or we have Dolev Chaziza, also a very good player, very much loved, very emotional. You'll see it. He's going into a lot of, fights with the ball, He's small, but he's mean.
The big difference between them is that Chaziza is much better dribble, and he helps defensively much better. But David is faster, is maybe the fastest player in the group, maybe in the league. So if you say Olympíakos hold the ball most of the time, maybe Bahar will want to start with much faster play when you send him, with a long ball.
So it's important to say that our coach Barak Bahar was the coach of Hapoel Be'er Sheva when they beat Olympíakos a few years ago.
There you go. Got a scout.
Also good to also just maybe Olympíakos fans would want to know, if they're listening, that some of the players on the bench are actually Israeli national team players. For example, Salman Achem on the left back was in the national team just now, and also Mahmoud Jabber. Very interesting story about him. I don't know if you know. So Mahmoud Jabber has a brother. His brother played for the Palestine national team, and Mahmoud is playing for the Israeli national team. He's a very good. He's young, 22 years old. Very, very good player on the midfield. Neta Lavi, as Matan mentioned, also might open. We don't know yet. And we have on the right hand we have
Mavis Chibota.
Right. So that's the other player that I forgot. We have also Mavis Chibota, Israeli player. He played for Ludogorets, right? And he came last season. And that's basically, the players that you need to focus on. I hope I didn't miss anyone. We have others, but I'm not sure they're gonna, see any time of playing.
Who's your star then?
The star?
Do you have a star, or is it more of a...
Sherry, as I mentioned before, and Atzili. Those are the two stars. And Abu Fani is considered a star. He's very much loved by us, but apparently he's not very much loved by other teams. I speak with other fans and they don't like him. I don't know why. He's so great, and he's a very nice guy.
Sherry is the star, and he performs in the big games. Yeah. What is important, then he shows. And Abu Fani is what you call is very strong mentality. When everything goes bad, he know to take the game on him and change the game, and he play a very, very aggressive and very physical game, although he's short. I think Sherry is the star, although Atzili have the greatest numbers last season.
And one thing that you might want to notice in the game, I hope you get a chance, very much hope so, is Maccabi is a very famous team for its set pieces. So there is an assistant coach, also the name is Weisinger, and he's coming up with great set pieces and tricks, and it's very great to watch. We had a few of them last season, you know, like getting, you'll see it, hopefully you'll see it, you know, maybe not for you, but and that's Maccabi Haifa for you. And
in the qualification for the Conference League last season, there was a play when Sherry dropped the ball, and immediately when he stops on the ground, then Atzili kicked it, and we scored from that. They have all kinds of an idea.
Yeah.
Well, just to mention that Olympákos still appeared to be suspect on set pieces, because despite winning most aerial duels on set pieces, the efficiency against Olympákos of the ones they lose is oddly high. So there is a bit of an issue when they defend set pieces. So that's very interesting that you mentioned that.
Well, we're going to see. Before we leave, because we're coming up on the hour and we like to keep it, you know, not too long, we wanted to ask if you would be so kind and to sing us an Olympákos song. We always ask it for our foreign fans that are any like a very good one that everybody knows in the stadium, that our fans will be, you know, oh yeah, I heard Costa singing it. I know it.
Well, I mean, basically, first of all, I forgot to tell you that there's also Mathieu Valbuena to keep an eye on. Obviously, he's in an advanced stage, but he's quite an impact player. So expect him to come off the bench, and well, he still got it though. He still got it. An incredible player who would have had a much better career if ... I don't want to say it in your. I don't want to put you in a difficult situation. So when it comes to the song, which you're definitely going to hear, is "Είσαι στο μυαλό κάτι μαγικό, όπου πάσες θα με πάντα εδώ να σου τραγουδώ. It goes like that. It means you're something magical. Wherever you go, I come with you. And trilole, basically they call Olympákos Trilos, which means the legend. And it's, you know, you're going to hear that a lot. And there's also a nice little song with the trumpet that you're going to hear, and which ends with Olympákos.
Okay.
Our editors ask what you do in Piraeus if you get there a few hours before the game.
In Piraeus, I mean, there are a lot of nice cafes that I've heard about. There's nice restaurants, tavernas, that is. And obviously, you know, the center of Athens is not far, to be honest. You know, I mean, you could go to Monastiraki, you could go to Thysio, you could try Exarchia, you could try, Panormus a little farther than that. Pagrati is not that far. With a car, that is. You know, with a car, you know, on a good day, that takes you 15 minutes to the stadium. So, yeah. Those are some things you could try.
Costas, thank you so much for being with us and answering all our questions with such, you know, patience. We really appreciate the time. We do hope maybe some of us will come and meet with you before the game. Hopefully. In Piraeus. Thank you so much again and good luck.
You too. Thank you very much.
תודה רבה לכל המאזינים שלנו, תודה רבה למתן גילור, תודה רבה לעופר פרוסנר, תודה רבה מיוחדת.
Sorry for my broken English.
תודה רבה לקוסטס שסבל את אנגליתנו השבורה, חוץ משל עופר. תודה רבה ליונתן אברהם שנותן לנו את התמיכה הטכנית מאחורי הקלעים. אוטוטו שבת עם אלוף האלופים, ואחר כך ביום רביעי אולימפיאקוס בביתנו. שיהיה לנו תחילת עונה מוצלחת, אנחנו בטח עוד נדבר קצת לפני. תודה רבה, ירוק עולה.